Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, on Mac Sports and the Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook pages. We're also on YouTube channel of Northeast Streaming Sports, on Twitter and Instagram. Like, share, comment, and please subscribe to the Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel for all the great Northeast Streaming Sports show. Our website is nessp.info. Check it out, guys. We got our shows there, information on guests, bios, stores, and links to the stores. I'm Mac with your co-host, Jack Hirsch, legendary boxing writer and former president of the Boxing Writers Association of America, bringing you national sports with special focus on the Northeast professional sports from New York, Boston, and Philly. Good morning, Jack. How are we doing today?
Well, Mac, how are we doing? Today is overtime, baby, overtime. We do our show in the morning, then we have long hours for the NFL draft, Mac. We're starting a couple of hours before even the first selection at 6 o'clock, and then we're going to run till the very end of the first round. And I'm not even getting a bonus for this.
No, you're not.
You tell me I should have negotiated this in my contract before. I didn't know about all these specials. I just thought the Mac and Jack show. I didn't see that fine little print on the bottom of the contract telling me that I'm obligated to do X amount of specials. But I'll tell you, I love it, Mac. I absolutely love the NFL draft. I am so excited.
Yeah, Jack. I mean, it's going to be a big night tonight, folks. If you're tuning in right now, tonight, starting at 6, as Jack just said, we got our NFL draft special on Northeast Streaming Sports. We'll be live. There will be live on the YouTube channel. We'll be live at Max Sports and a couple other platforms. So if you want some great coverage of the NFL draft where you can participate, we welcome your comments, your questions, your thoughts, because it's your sports network. That's what Northeast Streaming Sports is, your own personal sports network. We'll have the Philly guy at the draft live, Jack. We're going to have guests, former ex-football players, Super Bowl champions, journalists, and all the hosts of all the different shows on Northeast Streaming Sports chiming in, giving their opinions, their picks, and reactions to the draft picks. So it's going to be a great night, Jack. I know a lot of people like tuning into the networks, but I'm telling you right now, if you want a place where you can have your thoughts and your questions commented on, shown on the screen, and answered, those questions answered, tune into the Northeast Streaming Sports draft special tonight, starting at 6, Jack. It's going to be a long night. I hope you get your nap in, Jack. You got to get your nap in today. Because
I'm doing the best. I'm alert. I'm ready. I'll run on adrenaline. And listen, on our show, on our draft special, we're a little different from the big networks. If the big networks don't like a pick, they're going to sugarcoat it. They're going to say, well, I thought maybe the team could have gone in another direction. We say it was a lousy pick straight out.
Right.
We tell you why it wasn't a good pick, or hopefully the teams make the right choices, but it's going to be very intriguing because one thing about the NFL draft, there are a ton of surprises. Now, the NFL draft has come such a long, long way. I remember attending the NFL draft in person in 1986, and it was on the balcony of a hotel, in the ballroom, in the balcony, and by pick number 15, half these seats were empty. This was in Manhattan in 1986. Crazy. And then it started taking off, about 10, 12 years later. Now, it's so hard to get a ticket to go to the event. I don't know what they're doing as far as the crowd goes in Cleveland, where it's being held because of the pandemic. But normally, it's an event, the NFL draft. It's an absolute event.
Yes, it is, Dave. Good morning, David. How are you doing today? Glad you could join us. I hope you join us at that draft special tonight. Yeah, Jack, everything has changed in sports but the NFL always gets it right. They always have the right kind of promotion. They always have the right commercials. They have the right communications. They do it better than anyone else. And it's because of their league approach. There's regional fans, but because of the gambling, because of the shows that go over the draft, everybody's informed about every team. You really don't know what the hell's going on in California in basketball that much. You see some highlights. You don't know what's going on in baseball in the Midwest too much if you're from the Northeast. But football, they attack everything as one, Jack, as one entity.
What makes any event is the build-up. The build-up. You take a major boxing match, you build up to it, you talk about it before the fight was signed. Sometimes it's even, years in the making. But then it finally builds up to the event, and then the event becomes massive. With the NFL draft, we're hearing about the NFL draft about 6 months beforehand. We're seeing all these mock drafts. We're thinking who might go to our favorite teams. We're speculating. And the mock drafts keeps changing, and the different people who are giving us mock drafts. And we fantasize, can we get that player? Can we get this player? Should we move up? Should we move down? And it builds, it builds, it builds. And there's some moves made along the way, like the 49ers made, to get the third overall pick, like the Rams made, giving up a couple of number ones and then number 3 to get Matthew Stafford. And finally, the day's coming, and we still don't know what's going to happen. Something big might go down. I mean, who are the Giants going to take at number 11 locally? Who are the Jets going to take at number 23? What are the Patriots going to do? The speculation, will they do something out of character, move up in the draft to try to get a quarterback, which is totally out of character for them? And what's going to happen today? Not just once the draft starts at 8 o'clock. We go on the air 6 o'clock. But what might happen before then, during the course of the day? And it's such an exciting day. You keep tuning to the news to see did anything happen. Like yesterday, Mac, the Carolina Panthers trade Teddy Bridgewater to the Denver Broncos. The Broncos reportedly wouldn't play for quarterback. Are they still in play for a quarterback? We speculate, and we have a lot of fun speculating. It's outside of the Super Bowl itself, this is the most fun NFL day of the year.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, as I said, you don't see another league like the NFL that gets the word out and gets people thinking about things before they even happen, and then they talk about it for weeks after it happens. There's no other sport that does this. So, I mean, listen, how you doing today, Carlos? Good to see you. And, of course, he loves to talk about Russell Wilson. So, I don't think Russell Wilson's going anywhere, but
that's fantasy. That is not happening at all. I can guarantee it, to copy Joe Namath. Russell Wilson and the Seahawks have made amends. They're ready for the season, and absolutely nothing's going to go down there. Normally what Carlos says makes sense, not in this particular case.
Okay, Jack, giving it to Carlos. That's great. So, folks, today on our show here, early this morning, we'll have Carter B coming in with his hockey review. We're getting close to the playoffs, Jack. There is, from what I understand, still there is no date set yet for it, but the season's coming to an end. Carter will be here with all the news nationally and locally. Boxing news, Iceman won't be in today, so Jack, with all his knowledge of boxing, will be going through a little boxing news with us. There's nobody better at it than Jack, so he'll be kind of taking us through the boxing news. Jack, we've got Ain't Gonna Happen today. That'll be about the draft. I'll be asking you to look in your crystal boxing glove and give me some of the answers to that. We also got NBA scores and news. We'll update the MLB scores, and we'll have Keith Engel, our co-host, that will be on with us to draft. He's going to check in, and maybe we'll even have Jamie Pags checking in live from the NFL draft and Cleveland. We'll see if he can make it in. But right now, Jack, let's get to our hockey review with Carter Betevenga. I think I'm saying that right, but we call him Carter B, and because it's easier to pronounce and it's smooth and goes off the tongue a lot better than just Carter Betevenga. I don't know if you got to correct me, Carter, when you come on. But first, let's give Carter his due here.
Tension grows, the whistle blows, and the puck goes down the ice. The goalie jumps, and the players bump, and the fans all go insane. Someone roars, goalie score!
Good morning, Carter. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good, guys. How's it going?
Not too bad, Carter. I want to learn to pronounce your last name correctly because it's very important to me that I know my guests and my friends how they pronounce their name. So can you give me that last name so I can give you a proper introduction?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have problems with it. It's Betevenga.
Betevenga. Okay, yeah. Great. So Carter Betevenga is on, and we'll still call him Carter B because it's still easier and it rolls off the tongue. Carter, a lot of things going on in hockey. We're gonna go step by step through the league, and of course we'll get to the locals at the end. Some things we need to talk about with you about the locals here. We'll get to that after we kind of go through the hockey. In the Central, the Hurricanes at 32-10 are in first, followed by the Panthers, Tampa Bay, the Predators, and with the Stars still hanging in there. Tampa Bay wins 3 in a row, beating the Blue Jackets twice. Chicago, they clinched the playoff. Everybody knows that Tampa Bay was the favorite coming in. They won last year, but Carter, it's hard to win back-to-back, and that division is very tough this year.
Yeah, 100%. And Andrew and I were talking about this yesterday on the latest episode of the 2-on-0 Hockey Show, and that I still think Tampa Bay is the best team on paper in that Central Division, but the Carolina Hurricanes have really, really impressed me this year, and I said this yesterday on our show that way the playoff picture is looking at this point, but I think if Carolina and Tampa were to face off in a best-of-7 series, I would have Carolina winning in 6 games max. I'm really, really high on this Hurricanes team, and I think they could come out of the Central Division even with the Lightning in there. So it'll be fun to see what happens. That's for sure.
I think I'm in agreement with you there. I think it's so hard to repeat that. And I don't know. It just seems that this year that division at the top is. I think any one of those 3 teams could win that. I really believe that. And the West, the Knights are running away with it. They're at 35-11, followed by the Avalanche, the Wild, and the Blues. That looks like the top 4 over there. The Knights won 10 in a row. How about the Knights? Are they good enough to make that Stanley Cup this year?
100% they are. Yeah, I mean, we saw it last night, right? They just won their 10th straight game. I mean, this team is looking. Let me tell you now, they've had some good seasons over the course of their brief history, but this might be the best Vegas Golden Knights team that we've seen yet, and that's scary given how good they've been over the last couple of seasons. I think the biggest thing standing in their way right now is the Colorado Avalanche, right? I mean, they played the Avalanche last night, and they beat them pretty handily, but I don't think the Avalanche were on their game. They're also dealing with a lot of injuries, so I think once the Avalanche start to get healthy a little bit, when playoffs begin to roll around, if these two face off, I think this is going to be one amazing series to watch. And I really like Vegas to come out of that Western Division right now, but anything can happen in the playoffs.
In the North, quickly, Toronto is at first at 31-13, followed by the Oilers, Jets, and Montreal. Toronto has won 3 in a row, beating the Jets and Montreal pretty easily. Today they have also clinched a playoff berth. But they have a big headache in the Canucks. Canucks seem lately to have their number, Carter. To me, a lot of things in sports are about matchups, right? I mean, you can have a great team that can beat almost anybody, but you go up against a certain team and they give you fits. And it looks like the Canucks have been doing that to them lately. Look, I just – Go ahead, Carter. Sorry.
Sorry about that. I think I'm having some connection trouble, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. For whatever reason, the Canucks just seem to like to play spoiler against these teams that are in the playoff picture. And you know, I mean, you mentioned that the Leafs had won 3 straight. They handled the Canadians pretty easily last night, and they were able to clinch a playoff spot because of it. So it's definitely interesting to see how this Northern Division playoff picture is starting to take shape. And just adding one last thing on the Canucks, I don't think they're going to finish last in that North Division. I think they have a lot of hockey to make up, and I think that maybe we could see them even finish 5th in that division. I don't think they're making the playoffs at this point. I think they're too far out, but I definitely think they'll begin to make up some ground as we go along.
So let's get locally. The East, the Capitals are in first at 32-13. The Penguins, the surprising Penguins, in second. The Islanders follow third, followed by Boston. And the Rangers making a late run, trying to get that last playoff spot. So let's talk about that a little bit. What's going on with the Islanders?
Well, if I knew, I would tell you. I mean, I don't know. This team just hasn't looked good over the course of their last couple of games. They're 4-5-1 in their last 10, so that's barely above NHL 500. I mean, this doesn't look like the same Islanders team that won 9 straight games back in late February and early March. I mean, I don't know what the difference between those two teams is. I can't tell if this is just because the Islanders are starting getting puck luck to go their way, or if they're very motivated hockey right now. And, you know, if it's the latter of those two things, I think that they really just got to get their act together sometime soon, because, you know, you're 1 point ahead of the Bruins for that final spot in the Eastern Division, and the Rangers are coming up really, really fast. So if you're the Islanders and you want to make the playoffs, I think these next 2 games that happen to be against the New York Rangers, you have to win them both, or else I would begin to worry a little bit.
Carter, would you say, is their team on the fringes of a playoff position that if they get in would be a serious contender to win the cup? I'm thinking of the Dallas Stars, for instance. They're right now in the 5th, the dreaded position, meaning they wouldn't make the playoffs, but they're only a couple of points away from the 4th spot that would put them in the playoffs. If, let's say, the Dallas Stars got in, would they be a threat to win it? Or a team like Calgary, who seems to have slid behind Montreal, I believe, by 6 points, but look like they would make a run. If one of those teams get in, could they really pose a serious threat to go all the way?
I don't think Calgary's getting in the North. I just think those 4 teams are pretty much set in stone right now. Dallas, I mean, maybe, but I don't see them beating the Carolina Hurricanes in round 1. I'm actually going to pick a team that we were just talking about before in the New York Rangers. I think if the Rangers get in, they could make some serious noise. I think that, you know, as of right now, they would play the Washington Capitals, assuming they would take the 4th seed, of course. And the Rangers, for some reason, have had success against the Capitals team that has seemed to beat up on everybody else. So Rangers take down the Capitals, and then after that, anything can happen. I mean, it pains me to say that as an Islander fan, but I like the look of this Rangers team. And, I mean, you know, the saying is, as long as you get in, you're in. So I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be fun to see how this East Division playoff race plays out, and I just hope the Islanders make it too. After that, I don't really care what happens.
So we got Carlos, of course, chiming in. He says Trotz is not a great coach. Don't necessarily agree with that. He calls them the kids of the NHL.
I don't agree with that at all. But
not
sorry.
at all. They say the Rangers are too fast.
Well, speaking of coaches, guys, what's going on with AV in Philadelphia? He was considered one of the best coaches in the league, and now he might be on the hot seat. He's probably going to be back next year, but you know, there's no guarantee he's going to even last next year, especially if they continue playing. Next year, if there's not a substantial improvement, because the Flyers have been very, very sloppy in their play. It's not just that they're not playing winning hockey, but they're playing fundamentally poor hockey.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on with the Flyers. That I don't want to offend Pags here when I say this, but I feel like this happens a lot with Alain Vigneault coach teams. It happened with the New York Rangers when they went to the Cup final in their first year. They won the President's Trophy in their second season under Vigneault, and then after that, it was all just downhill. I think Vigneault is good at setting up structure, and he's good at kind of getting his team to buy in the first couple of seasons that he's the coach. But after that, I think maybe he just doesn't, maybe he just doesn't see it as important to kind of hold on to that locker room as his tenure goes on. He just kind of thinks that, that the room will instantly respect him. I don't know, Vigneault. I don't know. I mean, I'm seeing like a pattern developing here, so it's not really too shocking that that Philly took a bit of a step back this year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think some coaches can come into a team and get them fired up and going, but the good coaches are the ones that can remain there and keep the team believing in the message. And that's not as easy as people think. Just because you had a winning team somewhere else or you put in a winning program in the first few years, it's hard to hold the team and keep saying the same stuff over and over again for them to listen. That separates the great coaches from the good coaches. So, I don't know either. I just think I said this a long time ago. I thought he lost the locker room about halfway through the season. Let's talk about Alexis Lafreniere. He scores the winning goal. Strome was speaking out about him, saying he's starting to breathe with a little confidence, that he told them they were going to win that game. I guess he's tied for the most winning goals by a rookie this year. Heck of a pickup for the Rangers. I was happy when they got it last year. Not that I'm the biggest Ranger fan, but if I had to pick a team, it would probably be the Rangers and then the Islanders. I'm all messed up in hockey. I'm all messed up in hockey card. I just like almost everybody. But what a rookie! Huh? I mean, he's really starting to come to fruition this year.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people were kind of, I don't want to say they were bashing on him a little bit, but, seeing him struggle through the first half of the season, I think a lot of people were kind of scratching their heads a little bit. I know that a lot of people were expecting Lafreniere to come in and not necessarily dominate at the NHL level, but I think they were expecting him to play better than he has been. Now he's finally starting to pick up the pace a little bit. He's got 10 goals and 18 points on the season in 50 games, which, I mean, might not be the most eye-popping numbers for a rookie, but over the course of an 82-game season, that's close to a 20-goal pace. So Lafreniere is definitely having a solid rookie season in the Big Apple, and he might play for a division rival. He might play for my team's biggest rival, but I like seeing him succeed. I like seeing a kid like this step into the NHL with such a historic franchise and really just begin to shine. I think this kid can be a true superstar, and we're definitely see it, at least beginning to see it come to fruition here.
How about the two franchises in the East who've really been disappointing? I mean, the Buffalo Sabres have been playing better as of late after hitting that disastrous patch. Is that an illusion that they're going to take into next season, thinking they're on the upswing once again, and then we're going to have more of the same? Or what does it mean the Sabres playing a little bit better now?
So I don't think the focus is necessarily carrying the momentum into next season. I think that, obviously over the course of the summer, all momentum that you have is just stopped abruptly anyway. So that's kind of the nice thing about it is, you get a clean slate going into next year. With Buffalo and even New Jersey, who we really didn't touch up on yet, these two teams, obviously they're eliminated from the playoffs. There's no chance they can make it at this point. I think the thing for them is just to get their young guys a lot of playing time, and it's just to finish out the season strong. You're playing for basically nothing but pride at this point. So, I mean, you just don't want to go out and have a terrible performance against certain teams.
But Carter, they've been playing for nothing but pride for the last 10 years or so, it seems. So it's got to get to the point where, the heck with the pride issue. They haven't been in the playoffs since when? About 2011 or so? It's been, it's been ages, it seems. And, does the franchise need, let me ask you this, does the franchise need a complete overhaul? That's what I'm asking, a complete overhaul, or they just need to gently reboot?
Complete overhaul, no. That might sound like a hot take, but no. I think Buffalo has talent there. I think Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart, Victor Olofsson, Rasmus Dahlin on the back end, these are all good pieces to build a franchise around. You just got to have talent building around them. You have to go out and get players that are going to match the way that Buffalo is going to play. I don't think Taylor Hall really matched Buffalo's system, hence why he struggled. Granted, I don't think anybody really, quote unquote, succeeded in Buffalo this season. So, that's kind of a wash if you think about it. But I don't know. I don't think it's time to rebuild for Buffalo. I think that the number one thing for them is finding a head coach that will fit the way that the Sabres play and will find a kind of winning mentality, if you will. But I do think there's talent on the Sabres roster, regardless of what people think.
Carter, in all sports, we follow the ball or the puck. And, because we're looking at the scorers, how the goalies play. But there are a lot of things that the hockey players do. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, let's see if I can pronounce this right. The Penguins, is it Gaudreau? Am I saying it right? Coming back from that lower body injury for the Penguins. And they're saying a spot is secure for him, that he's a great penalty killer and he's got a great attitude. I want to talk about a little bit about penalty killers and the power play and stuff like this and defending against the power play. A penalty killer is important. I mean, you got to have a guy that can go out there and keep the puck away or from the offense. Am I right what I'm saying?
First of all, it's Gaudreau, by the way. That's the name you're looking for.
Thank you.
But I don't know. There just happen to be some guys who are good at killing penalties. There are just some guys who aren't. I think part of it just has to do with defensive prowess. Obviously, not everybody plays the same game. There are guys who are better at, the offensive aspects of the game, and there are guys that are better at the defensive aspect of the game. So, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of just a guessing game at this point as to who can kill penalties and who can't. So, yeah.
But I mean, what I'm saying, Carter, the facets in any sport, there are certain things that don't get enough credit, is what I'm saying. And, if you don't have a person that can do this, that hurts your team. And with defending against the power play, with penalty killing, with the guys that just go out there and check more than they actually worry about scoring and playing defense. There's a place for everybody in the sport. I think hockey, like I say, like in football, we follow the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. But there are a lot of different things that players do that really don't get a lot of attention that maybe they should get a lot of attention for.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think another thing it has to do with is just, when you're on the penalty kill, right, obviously, whether it's a 5-on-4 or a 5-on-3, you're always going to have somebody open, which means that you really have to be aware defensively of where you are. You have to be aware of every single passing lane possible. That's why you see a lot of the time defenders are kind of like, it looks like they're waving their stick at the puck, but they're trying to knock off every passing lane possible. Let me tell you right now, I play hockey myself, and I could never kill a penalty. I really respect all the guys that go out there and are able to kill penalties. And, I agree with you that this is something that a lot of people don't recognize as much. I think a lot of times nowadays it's all just about, the players that can put up points offensively and the players that can make plays offensively. But if you can kill penalties in the NHL, you're definitely a very valued piece that I don't think a lot of people are recognizing.
I definitely agree with that. So let's get back to the Rangers and the Islanders. What a big series coming down there close to the end of the year. Nobody thought the Rangers really had a shot at the playoffs. Everybody had the Islanders at least finishing the top four. Both of those things may be untrue before this 2-game series is over. Depending on what Boston does, the Rangers can move up very quickly, get into that 4th spot, and the Islanders could almost drop out of the top 4. What are you looking for from the Islanders, and what are you looking for from the Rangers, either side, to win, Carter?
I think for the Islanders, it's just about you got to score every. With me saying it, but the Islanders have gotten shut out in 2 of their last 3 games. Granted, they were playing a very solid defensive Washington Capitals club, but at the same time, I think the Islanders had around 18 shots in their last game. That's not going to cut it in the NHL. You're not going to score a lot on 18 shots. So for the Islanders, you just got to throw everything to the net, right? I mean, the last time, I don't know who's starting for the Rangers, but the last time that these two teams played at the Coliseum, the Islanders were shooting a lot and they were scoring a lot. So for the Islanders, you just got to keep shooting, see what happens. For the Rangers, I mean, just keep playing your game. They're on a 3-game winning streak for a reason. They're playing some solid hockey right now. And I mean, with the way they're going right now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of worried a little bit about this 2-game set coming up, but we'll see what happens.
Carter, you said you weren't too impressed with the Pittsburgh Penguins a couple of weeks ago. You hinted you didn't think they could keep it going, but they've kept it going. I mean, have you revised the opinion of Pittsburgh?
A little bit. I think with Pittsburgh, they've definitely exceeded at least my expectations anyway. I still think the Capitals are the best team in this division, but the Penguins are definitely, they're definitely a team that's kind of under the radar in terms of their expectations.
So what do you think is the big turnaround for the Penguins, Carter? I mean, they were in the thick of it in the beginning, but right now they're kind of making their voices heard, and their spot in the top 4 looks likely. What's changed from the beginning of the year or last year that's brought the Penguins up into that top 4?
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to be completely blunt with you. I have no idea what this Penguins team is doing. It seems like they've dealt with a lot of injuries this year, for one thing. I mean, Evgeny Malkin's out of the lineup right now, and it seems like every guy that they put into the lineup, whether it's on offense, on defense, or even with their backup goalies, it seems like whoever they put into the lineup, they step up in the big moment and they manage to win hockey games. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people are recognizing. So with this Penguins team, I think Coach Mike Sullivan definitely has he has a really solid grip over that locker room, and it's showing with the way that this Penguins team is winning games.
Carter, we sometimes talk about who the greatest players are of all time. And I'm not saying who the greatest player is, but the greatest leader, strictly of a team, might be Sidney Crosby. Strictly talking, who's better at leading his team. I mean, has there ever been a greater player as a leader than Sidney Crosby?
I'm not sure. I think Crosby definitely has he has the awards to back it up, whether it's on a personal level or on a team level. Sidney Crosby's won everywhere that he's played. He has 3 Stanley Cups. He's got a few Olympic gold medals, and this he's one of the best players to play the game. I think that's pretty obvious in when I'm saying that. I think if there's any guy who can kind of rival the leadership that Crosby has, I think it would be at least during this generation anyway, it would be Jonathan Toews of the Chicago Blackhawks. Toews has been a very good captain. He's been a very solid offensive and defensive player over the course of the last decade plus. And, he hasn't played much this season because of I think he's sick, but I'm not too sure about that. So it's been hard to see Toews not play, but this generation anyway, I would say Toews and Crosby are my 1 and 2 in terms of leadership.
Excellent. So, Carter, I want to thank you again for coming in this week. Again, I learned a lot about hockey from you this year, and this is the first year in maybe 20 years that I've actually started following and getting excited about hockey again, and that's because of you, my friend. So, thanks for coming on again. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, and root for your Islanders, my friend. They're going to need it. I'm telling you right now. It's getting close out. It's getting hot in here, Carter. So we'll see what happens. So have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. I'm going tonight, so hopefully they'll get me a win. So.
Hey, listen. If we didn't have the NFL draft show tonight, I might have you on live with your phone through your email if I could. But enjoy the game.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, Carter. So there you go, Jack. Carter B with our hockey update. He always does a great job for us. I love having him on. I learn a lot about hockey every time he comes on. So great job by him.
Oh yeah. Listen, I'm anxiously awaiting the NHL playoffs. Some positions still have to be decided, but I wouldn't sweat it if I'm an Islander fan. They're 5 points up on the Rangers. It's close, but that's enough of a cushion where the Islanders should be able to get this spot. The Islanders actually in nowhere's land. They're 5 points behind the Capitals, who are in first place, but they're 5 points ahead of the Rangers, who have that dreaded 5th position that would keep them out of the playoffs. So in other words, the Islanders could go anywhere from first to worst. And when I say worst, 5th is worst because you miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree, especially with the great season that they had in the beginning. So, Jack, I want to get to you, hit into your expertise a little bit with some boxing news. This ad has been placed all over the internet. It's the fight between Ruiz and Arreola. It's a pay-per-view fight. It's on May 1st.
Andy Ruiz against Chris Arreola.
Yes, and it's on pay-per-view, which I'm a little confused about. It's on, I think it's on Fight TV, I think. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't write that down, but I think it is. This is the type of fight. I mean, it should be a good fight. I think you let me know when.
Hook me up, Mac. I don't know what will happen.
Well, you went on another. Some reason you went on another screen, Jack.
I'll be right back on technical difficulty.
Okay, my friend. So there you go. Jack has just disappeared, pulling off one of his many stunts he does on me every show, just so I can go crazy while I'm trying to format the show and bring it to you. But as I was saying, folks, of boxing news, this is the type of fight I believe that should be on regular TV like it was before. I'm not. My goodness. Well, Jack, when you get it together, let me know, my friend. So, anyways, as I said, let me bring me up here. That the fight should be on regular TV like they had in the past. This is not for a championship. It's two great contenders that fight well. As we know, Ruiz lost to Joshua in the last fight, and he was clearly outboxed and outfought by Joshua. And he's one of the top contenders along with Arreola. Arreola's a really good fighter. I think he's at 32-10 if I'm correct. And he's a good fighter. There's no doubt about it. But this is a place where boxing can make their mark. This is where boxing can let the people get to know the contenders instead of us not knowing who the contenders are in boxing. And that's part of the problems. There we go. We got you.
Mac, I'm on my backup system. I'll get to the commercial. I'll get to my other system.
Okay.
Technical difficulty. Like Carter had technical difficulty, Mac. You're the only one who never has technical difficulty.
Well, Carter's is because of the internet. Yours is man-made, Jack. So I know that.
I'm gonna, but during a commercial break, I'll be back with my A system.
Okay.
See, Mac, I got a backup system here.
Right.
They got them at the stadiums with the lights.
I hear you. So I was talking about Ruiz and Arreola, and I was saying I don't know why this is on pay-per-view, Jack. This is a perfect opportunity for boxing to get a little bit of more fan-friendly where they could put this on a regular network, have sponsors purchase it. Because, Ruiz already lost to Joshua. He's clearly outboxed by Joshua. He's supposedly in better shape now. We'll see. I think that was just for the money. And here they go back on pay-per-view again when we can really get to know the contenders. Arreola, I think, has been around for quite a while. Good fighter. I mean, he's not the best, but he's a good fighter. They're both rank contenders. Why is boxing not putting fights like this on regular TV so we can get to know these fighters, Jack?
Chris Arreola has been he has not been motivated for years and years. Comes into fights out of shape. He's underachieved, and quite honestly, he's played out. Chris Arreola the ship is passed as far as his career goes. Now in boxing, you get a big win, you wind up back in the picture. So I guess it's never over unless you're medically suspended. But Chris Ariola's been around the block a lot of times. He's gotten big opportunities. Andy Ruiz had that shocking upset over Joshua at Madison Square Garden. Then for the rematch, he comes in out of shape, because he gets a little money, a little success, gets to live the good life, had no motivation, and gets outboxed. And now he has a new trainer, Eddie Reynoso, the guy who trains Canelo Alvarez and Ryan Garcia. He has Andy Ruiz in camp, and Andy Ruiz has taken off a lot of weight, and he looks good body-wise, and people are saying, oh, Andy Ruiz, he's now serious, how much better he's going to be. You know, I've heard this before. I remember a slimmed-down Riddick Bowe in the rematch with Andrew Golota. People said how great Bowe looked because he lost all this weight. And then he performed worse in the second fight than he even did in the first fight, and was lucky to win on a disqualification again when Golota couldn't keep his punches up. But to your point, Mac, you're right with pay-per-view. Who cares? I mean, who's really going to buy this fight? Unless it's someone who just doesn't mind throwing their money around. It's a night of entertainment. And they think, oh, there's heavyweight boxing on tonight. Let me pay my $50, $75 or whatever they're charging for this event. And again, it doesn't help boxing, something like this, because it's not going to get a great many pay-per-view buys. So it's going to slip under the radar, but listen, but it's what it is.
Well, Jack, again, and I agree with you. Listen, you get so many shots at the belt or the title, and you come in out of shape. You probably should either quit boxing or definitely get yourself a new trainer or manager. But you got to take a little self-responsibility for that too. I mean, this is your big shot, right? Why would you come in out of shape if you're going to fight a champion? That made no sense to me when that happened. And Arella, you're correct. He's been around a long time. But I still think he's a decent fighter. This could be a good event for boxing and period in general, because there's nothing like a name like Ruiz on regular boxing. He's very known. He's knowable. This could get some viewers and maybe some sponsors, regular TV, and maybe, just maybe, we start getting to know boxing again. And this is the stuff that frustrates me. This is not a heavyweight match for the title, but this could be a decent fight, and it could, feed the hunger of boxing fans out there right now that want to see a couple names go at it, and it just drives me nuts, Jack.
Listen, I don't want to belabor the point. Let them fight, and then when it's done, maybe Andy Ruiz should win the fight, and if he does it, maybe they match him with Deontay Wilder. That's an intriguing contest. I mean, I think the heavyweight division, there's another fight that day, by the way. It's on the Zone. And if you subscribe to the Zone's only $100 a year. And you might say $100 a year, but think of what I just said, a year, and you get to see a lot of fights on there for the $100 a year. And that's worth it. You have Joseph Park against Derek Chisora in a very good heavyweight fight,
I was
over there.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I was going to ask you about that, Jeff.
Right, okay, but that is a very good fight, and it's more competitive. It could go any way. Chisora's fought the best guys in the division. He usually comes up a little short. This is thought to be his last stand. Joseph Park has been in with great company like Anthony Joshua, and anyone could win this fight. Park is a slight favorite, but it's intriguing, and they're also fighting at a reasonable hour because because they want to accommodate the broadcast element in the UK time-wise. It's the main event's going to start about 6:15 Eastern time here in the evening, so it's not going to end too late either. And some of these pay-per-view events, Mac, they cater to very young people on the East Coast because the main event often won't start till close to midnight. And who wants to stay up that late, waiting for the main event?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I think that's going to be an excellent fight. On the undercard, they got Bivol against Richards too, Jack. And I think that's for the light heavyweight title. Am I right? Is it the light?
Right. Bivol beat Joe Smith.
Right.
Beat him by decision. Had Smith in trouble in the closing seconds of the fight. Had he had a little more time, Bivol may have stopped him. Smith did hurt Bivol, a little earlier in the 9th or 10th round. I forgot which round of that fight. So Bivol is a real quality light heavyweight. And even John Scully says, well, the best fight in the light heavyweight division would be Bivol against the guy who he's the assistant trainer of, Artur Beterbiev. But the most exciting fight would be Beterbiev against Joe Smith.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a really good fight. So I think that's a good fight all the way around. I see now that's something I might want to, as you said, the zone. You pay $100 a year for that. That's something that I would like to do. I mean, now you're talking, what is that? Not even $10 a month. So that's what.
And you get good fights. Listen, you get Canelo Alvarez fighting on the zone, not pay-per-view against credible. You're going to have him fighting on May 8th against Billy Joe Sanders.
Yeah.
That's a quality fight, top of the line on the zone. The zone. I mean, listen, ESPN Plus also gives you some good quality. That's like $50 a year. So between the zone and ESPN Plus, if you put out $150, you get a year of really top-notch boxing and other sports stuff on there too.
Yeah.
And that's well worth it. In some cases, you don't mind laying out the money if it's a long-term thing. Listen, we haven't had a pay-per-view show in ages where it's really outstanding top to bottom. Top-of-the-line fights all over the place. I don't think people would mind putting out the money if they were truly giving great quality. Now, Andy Ruiz and Chris Arreola, that should be nothing but a third or fourth fight on a pay-per-view show. There should be a great main event, and then there should be at least 3 other fights like Andy Ruiz and Chris Arreola. If you did that, then you could start arguing, yeah, it's worth the money. But
Well,
things stand now, no, it's absolutely not.
Well, Jack, like I said, I mean, if you want people to pay, even though go to pay-per-view, they got to get to know the fighters too. And I think, as we've gone over 100 times, so I'm not going to do it again. But I think boxing is really missing the boat here. Mayweather and Paul, I really don't even want to talk about this, but it's in the news. I mean, listen, Mayweather, I know he likes money, but does he have any integrity at all about boxing? I mean, Jack, there's got to be, being a former champion, undefeated, I would think a man would have integrity. He has enough money to live off for the rest of his life. He's managing. I think he's got his own network. He's a very business-oriented kind of guy, loves money. Why does he want to participate in the circus?
Well, he needs money too, as crazy as it seems. If you see his lifestyle, I mean, he spends money, left and right, crazy amounts for various things. And he needs that infusion of cash once in a while, but just as much he needs to keep in the news. His ego, he needs to be relevant. He needs to be a mega star. And fighting Logan Paul kind of keeps him in the news. And Logan Paul doesn't pose a threat on 2 levels. One, it's an exhibition. So Mayweather's unbeaten record is not at stake. He can stay unbeaten his whole career. And 2, Logan Paul has only had one fight and he lost it. He's absolutely no threat to Mayweather. Mayweather could just play around with him. If Mayweather really wants to make mega money, really mega money again, like we're talking about 300-400 million or whatever, maybe even more, let him go in against Canelo Alvarez now at a catch weight. Let him have a rematch. Canelo is a major draw, major star, and especially with the Hispanic element buying the fight and the thought now that Canelo could beat Mayweather this time around, that fight would do business off the charts. But of course, Mayweather might lose. And if Mayweather loses a fight, he's not distinguished from the other great fighters. He becomes just another great fighter. But now Mayweather can say, well, I'm unbeaten. I never lost to anyone. He's kind of has that little hook, the way Rocky Marciano did. You know, Marciano lost the fight, let's say, early in his career, before people truly knew who Rocky Marciano was. We wouldn't be looking at him the same way. But now we look at him, well, he was an unbeaten heavyweight champion, the only one who didn't lose. So that's kind of like their ID card, unbeaten. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's Mayweather's ID card. And he doesn't want to lose his ID card because then he can't quite get into the Hall of Legends to the extent that he, you know, feels he can now.
Well, one big difference, I don't think Rocky Marciano would be fighting a circus clown, even in an exhibition. I think he had a little more pride and integrity than that. I don't know Mayweather personally. I've seen him on TV acting a fool sometimes. I just think, you know, this is your profession. Have a little bit of pride in your profession and in yourself. To fight a clown, to me, makes no sense at all. It kind of takes away from Mayweather to me. I don't care about the Mayweather fans either, they like it or not. To me, this is all a big sham, and he should be ashamed of himself to me. I mean, for being a boxer.
Well, Mayweather's fought a lot of outstanding fighters in his career. Yeah, I mean, you got to give him his due. He's had a great career. But if you want to classify this, Mac, what do you want to classify this as, boxing or entertainment?
I don't.
If you want to classify it as boxing from a competitive viewpoint, of course it's a sham. It's a big joke. It's ridiculous from a boxing viewpoint. I agree with you completely. If you want to look at it as entertainment, nothing more, then, you know, I don't have a problem with it because it's not an official match. You don't have to tune in to see it, and it counts for nothing. If it was going to go on Mayweather's record, then it's a sham, but it's not going on his record. Now, let me give Mayweather a little credit for something he said a couple of years ago. He fought this Japanese kickboxer, stopped him in one round, a guy much smaller than Floyd. And then as soon as the guy was interviewed after the fight, he said, this doesn't count for my record. It doesn't count for his record. You know, he is basically saying it's an exhibition and nothing more than that. I mean, look at it as WWE wrestling. Mayweather and Logan Paul. Mayweather fought the big show.
Then wrestle.
Big show.
Jack, then wrestle. Don't go back on your profession. You know, that's what I don't like about it. To me, if you're playing any job you do, your profession, there's a little integrity and pride that goes along with that. Whether you don't like your job or you do like your job, I think that if you want to wrestle, go wrestle. If you want to play horseshoes or whatever you want to do, I don't care. But to me, you're a boxer. You're one of the greatest of all times. And I'm not saying that exhibitions are bad to the point where it is not fun sometimes. When Ali fought Lyle Alzado, or he went and he fought whatever he did there, that wasn't fun. We're talking about this guy is doing this against a guy that's not even a professional anything but an idiot. So, I mean, if you want to go up against a wrestler or something, okay, whatever. If you want to go up against a football player, whatever. But you want to go against a YouTube guy? Come on, man. That's ridiculous, Jack.
Yeah, you know, the January before last, 16 months ago or so, I went to a show in Miami in which the YouTube guys, Anson Gibb and Jake Paul, fought one another. And Jake Paul knocked him out in a round. And after the fight was over, I took the shuttle back to the hotel because they didn't have a parking lot. You had to park back at the hotel. So I get on the shuttle bus with a few boxing people. I'm just stretching out. You know, I'm in the middle of the shuttle. And all of a sudden, my eyes wander to the front seat. And there's the guy, Anson Paul, who got knocked out in one round, the YouTube guy, sitting all by himself, staring out the window. He was at peace with himself. He was like an entertainer who performed his part of the act. Now, I'm not saying the fight was fixed. He just couldn't fight. He was inept. You know, he threw some punches to start the fight. He tried to get down low. He had no technique, and then went down 3 times from ordinary punches and got stopped because he had no boxing background. But he fulfilled his part of the entertainment. But I remember that night, even though there were legitimate fights, there were 3 world title fights on that bill. I remember when the YouTube guys came on, the crowd became alive. And I kind of became alive in the crowd. I'm looking around and I'm figuring, this is fun. Watching this, it makes you laugh. And I took it as entertainment. And that's what it was. And Floyd is trying to fight as far as entertaining. And is it a competitive fight? If you look at it, it's how you look at it. Don't look at it as boxing, Mac. Look at it as entertainment. Showtime's putting it on pay-per-view. And I'm going to tell you something. If it does good business, how can you argue against it? If people tune in and get that nonsense, and it makes them more likely to want to see another boxing match, or puts more money in the pockets of Showtime, who could invest the money into a real boxing endeavor more so than they do now, then that's a good thing. I mean, I try to look on the bright side of it. I don't look at it as a boxing match. It's a fiasco from that sense. But otherwise, I mean, who cares?
So, Jack, let's look at a heavyweight title fight that may not happen now. Here I'm calling the Joshua fight a mirage in Saudi Arabia. They're starting to get a little ticked off over there at Top Rank. Try to set up the fight with Joshua, and I guess Saudi Arabia is not coming through for him, which leads me to the question, why did they schedule it in Saudi Arabia and not in England or in Vegas or some big or Madison Square Garden?
Well, Mac, according to Eddie Hearn, Joshua's promoter, who was in charge of dealing with the people in Saudi Arabia, and they have fought in Saudi Arabia before. So Saudi Arabia does have a track record of putting up big money for site fee. Saudi Arabia was going to put up a $150 million site fee, which is going to be split $75 million apiece between Joshua and Tyson Fury, who's promoted by Bob Arum at Top Rank, and Frank Warren, a British promoter. You have to understand, Arum and Warren don't like Eddie Hearn because he's a competitor more so than anything. They just don't like him. And after Eddie Hearn said the money was just about there, was going to be announced at any time, it hasn't been announced. It's like Eddie Hearn hasn't quite closed the deal. It's like a relief pitcher coming in. The crowd is chanting, there are 2 strikes. Let's hear the final strike. And then the pitch gets fouled off. It's ball 2, ball 3, ball 4, next batter up. And you can't quite close the deal out. That's where we're at right now. And now Bob Arum is saying, we're not going to keep waiting. Tyson Fury wants to fight this summer. And so now they're thinking of doing a 3rd fight with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. They're waiting a little longer to see whether they could put together the Fury, Joshua deal. But they're waiting on Eddie Hearn, basically. And so we're going to see, this drama is going to take a little bit longer to unfold. But my feeling is Arum and Eddie Hearn, and Frank Warren genuinely have very little patience with this. And if something doesn't happen in the next week or 2, I think it's more than a bluff. I think Tyson Fury really will fight Deontay Wilder in the 3rd fight.
I don't know why that Ruiz and Fury didn't get together and try to schedule a fight while these guys play games over. See, that would impress me. If Ruiz was to go and try to fight Fury instead of this other guy he's fighting, he already beat Joshua once. He got, he didn't do too well the 2nd fight. But if he really wanted to impress people, I definitely would have my promoter, my manager, get in touch with top rank. And while they're fiddling over in Saudi Arabia, I would have tried to fight Fury. That would have been me as his manager.
Well, it's funny, Mac. Andy Ruiz, if he beats Chris Arreola decisively on Saturday, he's in demand. There are possibilities. I mean, if Fury and Joshua don't get together, you could use Andy Ruiz in a rubber match with Anthony Joshua conceivably, and that would do decent business. You could match him against Tyson Fury as well. They haven't fought before. It's a new fight. Andy Ruiz against Deontay Wilder, very intriguing.
Yeah.
You can even match him against Dylan White, the other British heavyweight who's been waiting and waiting. So between Andy Ruiz and Dylan White, they're like the standby guys. They're like standby jurors, not being used in case something falls apart and you got to bring them into the picture.
I agree.
So, I said, we're gonna know more in a couple of weeks because this isn't gonna go on indefinitely. But the Saudis do have a track record of putting up the money, and I think when push comes to shove, Fury and Joshua is going to be made.
I hope you're right, Jack. Folks, we're going to take a quick official timeout. We're going to have Keith Angle on the other side talking about the draft. We still got a lot of sports to get to, so stick with us, and we'll be right back after these messages.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Infoline. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, though, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Try.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on live Wednesday through Sunday a.m. We're here on our Thursday show, Jack, where we're doing our morning show right now, and later on tonight we'll be doing the NFL Draft Special on Northeast Streaming Sports. Let's see, I got a couple messages coming in at me that I'm checking real quick, but as I was saying, today is going to be a long day, Jack, and I can't wait to get to that draft.
I can't wait, Mac, because of the element of surprise. I'll tell you, I am so looking forward to certain of the moves that are going to be made, and we speculate back and forth. There's going to be at least one move that's totally going to knock us off our feet that we're not going to see coming. Look, a couple of years ago, no one saw the Giants picking Daniel Jones at number 6. They thought Daniel Jones, maybe the Giants will take him with the 17th pick because they had 2 picks in the first round, number 6 and number 17. And they took him at number 6, totally unexpected, okay?
Yeah.
So we're going to get something like that today. We will from one of the teams. It's going to reach a little early, or someone's going to slide on the board and really unexpectedly drop.
Well, backstage right now, we got Keith Engel, who's going to be one of the co-hosts on the show tonight. Let's bring him on. How you doing today, Keith?
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Not too bad. Your volume's a little low, my friend. I don't know if you got it on, off, or you just got it low so we can't.
How about now?
A little bit higher, Keith, if you can.
How about now?
It's getting there, my friend.
I'm at the
I'm not the only one with technical difficulties. Yeah, maybe at our main headquarters, meaning you've got to, let our production crew know, checking the volume.
Good, Keith. There you go. Now we can hear you fine, my friend.
Good. All right.
There you go. So as I was telling Jack before, technical issues are normally through the internet, but Jack's are all man-made. All of a sudden he's clicking. He's on 2 different screens. He's going off. He's coming back on and keeping me on my toes, Keith. I mean, there's nothing like it. I'll tell you.
I did actually see that show the other day when there was like 2 Jacks, and it was very freaky. Actually,
yeah, it was kind of scary, Keith. But
no, guys, I get calls from people, for example, in the NFL, giving me the latest possible rumors, things that could go down. Of course, with my connections, they never really happen, but I got to take those calls anyway.
So I've just put this in for Jack. That every time he starts saying stuff that makes no sense, I'm just putting up fake news now. I'm not even gonna talk about it. But anyway, today, folks, we'll be on the NFL draft show over there at Northeast Streaming Sports, Keith, all-nighter. Me and you were up late last night a little bit on a show with NFC East that made no sense to me at all. But I went on.
Nothing we talked about last night will happen tonight. Nothing.
Yes, exactly. So, but I guess it was fun for some people. I hope. Not that I'm criticizing the show or Philly guy in the least. But anyway, I'm just going to leave it alone for right now. Philly guy. Had some fun. Yes. The Philly guy will be live from the draft, which will be excellent. He'll be coming in and out with reports. We got a lot of big names, guys, coming on with us, ex-Super Bowl champions, former players, journalists. It should be a lot of fun. And Keith, just your thoughts right now. I mean, I don't know how many people will come over and join us. Hopefully everybody will join us tonight. But some of your thoughts on the draft. Jack thinks there's going to be a big move that we're not going to expect. How about you?
Oh, definitely. There's something that's going to shake everything up. I'm positive. I don't know who it'll be. It could be the Patriots moving. There's talk about them moving up as far as number 4. It could be the Redskins. They're trying to move up. I mean, everybody's trying to move up. Everybody wants a quarterback now. All of a sudden, the Steelers may or may not want a quarterback. Broncos made a trade for Bridgewater yesterday, and they still may want a quarterback. The Panthers now are talking about still getting a quarterback, even though they just traded for Sam Darnold. Atlanta, nobody knows what they'll do at number 4. They need a successor for Matty Ryan, but they could pick a quarterback. They could trade out of there. They could take Pitts, the tight end from Florida. So there's just so much. I mean, I don't remember a draft that where it's all over the place where teams could go. And one big move. I mean, the first couple picks are going to be, nothing's going to happen there. First 3 picks. But whatever 49ers do could really sway what happens after that. Because
Keith, it
I
gets
cannot believe they're going to take Mac Jones at number 3. Sorry.
You know what would really shake up the draft? If I'm the 49er owner, I call, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, the coach, into the office, and I tell them point blank, Kyle Pitts is far and away the best play in this draft. He's a major difference maker. Let's just take him at number 3, even though he gave up an awful lot, the 2 number 1s, a 3rd-round pick to move up. The guy is, potential Hall of Famer. He's that good. I mean, maybe that's a stretch coming out of college to say that about anyone, but he's clearly the best player. So you're going to take an unproven quarterback who you can't be sure of, because the only quarterback you could be pretty sure of is going to be at least decent is Trevor Lawrence, at least decent, okay? But Kyle Pitts is that rare type player. So the 49ers are going to take him. Now he's their number 4 for Atlanta. Why on earth would Atlanta want to move down in the draft and get more capital and give up Kyle Pitts? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But Can you imagine a team wants a quarterback at number 4? Now Kyle Pitts falls to number 5, and there's Cincinnati, okay? And I know they need offensive line help, but how do you turn a guy like that down?
No, Bengals will take Pitts if he's there, I think. I don't know how they can not take him. They got to give Burrows weapons, right? And I just don't see how they can't take him. Talking about the 49ers, the problem with these guys like Lynch and the ownership in general, well, not ownership, but Lynch for sure, and the coach, you trade up for that pick. The second thing to winning is, and sometimes not the second thing, is keeping your job. And if they take Pitts there, they'll really be putting themselves at giant risk. I mean, even if they fail at the quarterback pick, it won't be as bad as if they take the tight end and they don't.
No, it won't be bad, Keith. It'll be bad in comparison to how the other quarterbacks do. For example, the Chicago Bears taking Mitch Trubisky ahead of Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Was it a viable move at the time? I don't know. You could argue it was a viable move at the time. But the way it turned out,
they didn't need to move up to do it.
Very bad for Chicago. Very bad. And that's what's going to happen with the 49ers. If one of the quarterbacks taken behind who they pick is clearly a better player than who they wind up picking, it's something they might not, ever live down. And let me ask you guys this. What's the matter with Jimmy G? Why not just stick with him? He's a good quarterback. He's been injured a lot. That's been his problem. But he's a good quarterback, Jimmy G.
He is, but I don't think they trust him to stay healthy, and they think they've gone as far as they can go with him. That's my opinion. And I see them picking a quarterback and trading Jimmy G very shortly after that, probably tonight during the draft.
Listen, they would have to pick up a quarterback, giving up that much capital. I think it made no sense to me either, Jack. I think it was crazy to me. And why pick up a tight end when you already got one of the best tight ends in the league as it is?
That's the other thing. Yeah,
why would you go get a tight end? I mean, I think the 49ers put themselves in the pickle here because I don't think, and I've said this a lot of times, I don't think this class is that strong after Trevor Lawrence. There's a lot of unproven quarterbacks out there, and if they're unproven in college, how are they going to prove themselves in pros? I think this is I don't know why teams are doing this, and I think San Francisco put themselves in a bad spot. There was no reason that I can see them moving up and giving up all that capital. I don't get it.
Even as weak as you and other people might see this draft class for quarterbacks, and it's always debatable, right? Nothing's a sure thing. Ryan Leaf was a great prospect out of college and going to be one of the greats of all times and was one of the worst picks ever. But next year's quarterback class looks even worse than this one. That's why teams are moving and jockeying up to get up this year, because as weak as you may think it is, next year is going to be worse. So
you could be right, Keith. I just think to give away all that draft picks on a thing that might be a good quarterback was crazy. And if you're going to take him in the second round or something, fine, he works out. But to move up into the third spot for what's available, I still don't understand it. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe there's something else we don't see.
They could have found a decent quarterback later.
Let's compare this to like 3 years ago. There are 5 quarterbacks who were very viable to be taken in the first round fairly early. And that was the same situation 3 years ago. And let's look at the way it turned out. Baker Mayfield was taken first. He's the Brown franchise quarterback in all probability. He's been in the league 3 years, had a very good rookie year, and a good year last year. So he's their guy going forward. I would say you guys agree with that, I would think.
I would, but I will tell you that I think the Browns screwed up by taking him where they did, because they could have got him and Saquon Barkley in the first round that year, and they didn't.
Well, they were going number 1 and number 4. They didn't want to take that risk, but they may have been able to do that.
Mayfield would have been there at 4. They could have. They should have taken Barkley, but you can't take running back number 1 anymore, right? So
okay, that's fair. Sam Darnold was the second quarterback taken. Compare him to Trey Lawrence, the lack of experience. I believe Darnold had something like 16 games in college. Trey Lance 17. And when you look at the experience factor, it's pretty equal. And the jury's still out on Darnold, okay? He's getting up to probably, not definitely, probably be given the opportunity to start at Carolina. We'll know more after tonight, fellas, with Darnold. But let's assume, Carolina gave up a number 2, a number 4, and a number 6 to get him. So they got to be serious about him to give up that draft capital. And he's been very iffy. The jury's still out on Sam Darnold. But then you take Josh Allen at number 3. He's Buffalo's franchise quarterback. Big success, the third quarterback taken. Then you look at Josh Rosen, and he's one of the 5 who just hasn't made it. He's on the practice squads. He's kicked around. He was given an opportunity at Arizona. He was given an opportunity at Miami. Then he was on the Tampa Bay practice squad. Then who did he go to last year? The 49ers or the Rams? I forgot, but it didn't work. And then the number 5 quarterback who slipped under the radar, league MVP, Lamar Jackson. He's a Raven franchise quarterback. So the point I'm trying to make is 3 of the 5 quarterbacks have already established themselves as the franchise quarterbacks out of that group. And one of them a 4th one might join them. He's going to get his audition, Sam Darnold. And Josh Rosen, despite what Troy Aikman says, that he hasn't even touched the surface of what he could do, I'm not too optimistic about him being a top-level quarterback. But if you want to compare to this class, that means 3 of the Trevor Lawrence to me is a gimme just about. But if you look at the other 4, 2 of those 4 are probably going to be franchise quarterbacks going forward. So you can't afford to miss on the other 2. You miss on the other 2, it's devastating. The Jets, especially at number 2, they have their pick out of the 4. And if they dial this up, boy, they're not going to live this down.
You know what, though, Jack, and kind of back up Mac's point a little bit. You mentioned Lamar Jackson. There's always guys that fall further down the draft, and these guys are all always trading up to get the Darnolds, to get the Rosens, to get the Trubiskys, and they're going to fail just as often as the guys you pick in the second or third round. And there's always gems that fall, and there's going to be gems that fall this year. Kellen Mond is going to be a good NFL quarterback. I think he's going to get picked in the second or third round. Don't forget Newman, who didn't play last year, and Kyle Trask, who's as good as Mac Jones as far as I'm concerned. He's going to be a second or third round pick.
I agree with everything you said there. And one thing that Jack left out, Baker Mayfield didn't just play for 1 year. Jackson didn't just play for 1 year. These guys played and have experience in college. Most of these guys in this quarterback class, the ones that they're looking at, don't have that experience.
Good point.
I mean, there's something to be said.
Trevor Lawrence does.
Right. That's the only one. So, I mean, all I'm saying is this is like going after a Sam Darnold. This is like, Sam Darnold was a sophomore or whatever, or play for a year and a half or something. I mean, and he had problems. And
we see it year after year. We see it year after year, Mac, and teams do this every year. And there's a 50% success rate probably with these guys, maybe a little higher in certain years, but it's probably 50% at best, the success rate of these guys. And you can find the same success rate in the second, third round.
I agree.
Well,
And
I'm going to tell you, I'll go a step further to your point, Keith, which is well taken. The year the Washington Redskins drafted RG3, they gave up 3 number ones to get RG3. And then in the fourth round of that same draft, where you can get value in the fourth round still, the odds are your fourth round draft pick makes the team and could be a very serviceable player. They draft a quarterback again, Kirk Cousins, because he's available. And Zach Prescott also was a fourth round draft selection. So you're right. But for the most part, you're not going to find your guy that low in comparison to the first round. Let's be realistic, though. You can find the value there later on, but your chances are greater the higher you pick.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of great quarterbacks, though, that weren't picked in the first round of the NFL draft, I can tell you. I can think of guys that never got drafted at all. I think of Lenny Dawson. You want to go back a ways? Lenny Dawson never even got drafted.
You could throw Kurt Warner in there, too.
Johnny Unitas, I'm pretty sure, right?
There you go. I mean, listen, guys. I mean, it's a crapshoot. We all know that because you really don't know who can play in the NFL and who can't. We think we do. But all I'm saying is if you're going to waste first-round picks for somebody that hasn't even played 3 years in college, man, you're putting yourself in predicament. I didn't say it ain't going to work. I'm saying the odds are it probably isn't. And I think the 49ers made a huge mistake to move up. Unless they're getting Trevor Lawrence, okay, maybe. But other than that, man, I don't know what they're thinking. Yeah. Anyways,
I will say I'll agree with Jack on one thing. Kyle Pitts is the best prospect in this draft, regardless of position. I agree with that. I think he's going to be a tremendous player and a game changer with wherever he ends up. So
I think he's one of the best. I don't know about the best because there's a couple of offensive linemen and linebackers and receivers that are pretty good out there too. But I agree with the premise that he's one of the best at his position. He is the best. There's no doubt about that coming out of college. No doubt about that. So we only brought Keith in for a little while. We just wanted to get his thoughts before we really get going tonight. Let Keith get back to his job and make some.
We only got 6 or 7 hours of coverage tonight, so good thing we got a head start on this.
Take your nap, Keith, and we'll see you tonight, my friend. I know I'll probably be taking one, so it's going to be a long night, but it's going to be a fun night. I can't wait to.
I'm looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to this for months. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Me too. So you have a great day, and we'll see you at 6 o'clock, Keith.
6 o'clock. See you guys then.
All right. Take care, my friend. So there you go, Jack. The great Keith Angle, who's going to be joining us tonight with his perspectives. Always thoughtful. Always has great opinions based off information. So can't wait to get that going tonight. Jack, we went right through that half hour. Let's do one more quick break, and we'll be back on the other side, guys, with Jack's Ain't Gonna Happen. We'll try to get the NBA and MLB scores in, too. So we'll be moving at quite a pace. Stick with us. We'll be back in a few minutes right after these important commercials. Shoot. I'm playing with my board again, Jack. I'm already tired. We haven't started yet. Here we go.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye-bye. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Pam, Have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Infoline. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on live, Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. You're joining us for our Thursday show. We just had Keith Engel up with our preview of tonight's NFL Draft Special on Northeast Streaming Sports. It'll also be going live here, Jack, and also on the YouTube channel, and a couple other formats out there. Excited about that, but let's get into one of my favorite my bits with you, and that's called It Ain't Gonna Happen. This is where I ask the legendary Jack Hirsch some questions. He has to look into his crystal boxing glove, and he's going to tell me whether this is going to happen or this ain't going to happen, Jack. So let's get it going with the 49ers trade Jimmy Garoppolo to the Pats for a second-round draft pick this or next year.
Ain't gonna happen. I mean, maybe Jimmy G winds up back with the Patriots. I don't know. Second round pick. That's what actually the Patriots got for Jimmy G originally. Everyone is speculating when it comes to the Patriots what they're going to do, and indications are that Jimmy G is going to be traded. But if someone's going to offer a better deal than the Patriots, I don't feel the 49ers feel a sense of loyalty to ship Jimmy G back to the Patriots. And there's so many elements involved. People assuming that's where he's going to go. But if push comes to shove, it ain't going to happen. Maybe it'll be for lower round draft pick. Maybe like a number 4 or something like that. But for second round draft pick, I don't think New England's going to go that high, even though Jimmy G would be worth it.
Okay, the Jets, with their second pick in the first round, take a running back, Jack.
That's at number 23. You know, with Travis Etienne on the board, I would do it, you know, the great Clemson running back, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to go defense. That's just my feeling on it. You know, maybe go for an edge rusher linebacker. Because remember, the coach Robert Salah, he's a defensive guy. And he's been in meetings with Joe Douglas. And if a coach specializes in defense, aren't you going to want to give the coach the weapons? Everyone keeps talking about giving the quarterback the weapons, especially a rookie quarterback who can help him out. Don't you want to give a rookie coach the weapons? You know, he's a defensive guy, giving them defensive players. So I'm going to say ain't going to happen. They're not going to go for running back.
Great point. The Falcons draft a quarterback with the 4th round pick, Jack.
Ain't going to happen. That's my feeling. They're going number 4. Matt Ryan still has something left in the tank. And if you're drafting a quarterback, I know they have all this talk about an heir apparent. Matt Ryan's 36 years old. The Falcons are going to have to address the quarterback situation at some point. But they're in a win-now mode, even though their record wasn't too good last year. They have players. They're talking about trading Julio Jones. Supposedly there's some dissension between him and the team, and they want to move on from Julio Jones, and they let that be known. I think at number 4, like we said before, with Kyle Pitts, an outstanding tight end, you help Matt Ryan out that way. And to get a rookie quarterback, what do you do with Matt Ryan? Or you get a rookie quarterback and you groom him. I think you're better off getting a dynamic player like a Kyle Pitts. So it ain't going to happen.
Makes sense to me. Dallas takes an offensive lineman with their first pick in the 1st round, Jack.
You want to know something? Zach Prescott got hurt last year. But I'm going to say ain't going to happen. They could use an offensive lineman. Dallas could use a lot. Indications are that they're going to take a cornerback, Patrick Surtain II, the Celeb Farley. Those are the indications. But listen, Jerry Jones likes those glamour players. If one of those big name wide receivers, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, they somehow slip down to the number 10 spot where Dallas is going, that's going to be awfully tempting for the Cowboys. And Stephen Jones has a way of reeling his dad back into reality, because that's that famous story when Johnny Manziel was available. Jerry Jones was psyched. He wanted to take Johnny Manziel. Stephen Jones said no. And Jerry Jones, who has a great relationship with his son and respects him, he went around the room to all the scouts, and he was looking for support. And they wouldn't support Jerry. They wanted to take Zach Martin, an offensive lineman, and they took Zach Martin, and Zach Martin turned out to be an all-pro, and Johnny Manziel's not even in the league now. So I think common sense is going to prevail in the Cowboy draft room.
With Big Ben in his last year, pretty much this year, the Steelers move up and take a young quarterback, Jack.
Ain't going to happen on 2 counts. They have a couple of young quarterbacks backing them up now. They have Mason Rudolph, who was a 3rd-round pick years ago. It's not bad. He doesn't appear to be the answer, the heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger, but he's not bad. And Mike Tomlin seems to like him. He's kept him on the team a while. Then there's the XXXX factor, Dwayne Haskins, who the Steelers picked up, okay? And they're going to see what they could do with Dwayne Haskins, because if anyone can get Dwayne Haskins to fulfill his potential, it's Mike Tomlin. And reportedly, Dwayne Haskins' issue has been maturity more than talent. And under Mike Tomlin, a no-nonsense guy, a great coach, a very fair guy, but a stern disciplinarian, Dwayne Haskins is either going to have to shape up or be shipped out of the league, okay? So I don't think they're going for quarterback. The indications are, they'll take Najee Harris, the Alabama running back. That's the talk right now. But, Landon Dickerson, the center, could be in play for them from Alabama as well. But we'll see. But the answer, no, ain't going to happen. They're not going to take a quarterback in the 1st round.
Right. And this Ain't Gonna Happen segment is brought to you by BSTBreaks.com for the best in wax straight in the pack. BST Sports Cards has it all. Join the phenomenon, the best sports breakers in the business at BSTBreaks.com. Get $10 off select breaks and boxes when you enter the code MACJACK, MACJCK, on the BST Sports website. Multiple authenticated jerseys, boxes, and more, and they give back to their community. There's a great new line that opened up for 2021. Don't forget to put the code MACJACK at the website and get a special discount. And Jack, all these sports are high gear, and BST is all over it. So, Jack, one last question for you, and it ain't going to happen. And this is going to be about the New York Giants. David Gettleman, as you know, he likes, drafting the big guys. But there might be a couple weapons for Daniel Jones down there at the 11th pick. But Dave Gettleman, being the way he is, ends up drafting either an offensive lineman or a defensive nose guard. Is or ain't going to happen?
Mac, sometimes it's hard to answer is it ain't going to happen because it depends how the draft board falls. We talked that way with Lance Meadow yesterday. If certain guys are there for the Giants, like Rashad Slater, Penei Sewell, if they fall to the Giants' spot, okay, it's going to be hard for the Giants to not draft them. But now, what was the question exactly? Again, are they going to?
So Dave Gettleman stays true to his roots and drafts a big Molly, or he gets Daniel Jones another weapon.
My feeling is he's going to get. It's going to happen as far as giving Daniel Jones another weapon. If he gets one of the big name receivers, Jaden Waddle, Devonta Smith, I think he's going to go that route. Okay, because they have star potential. But again, it depends with one of the great offensive linemen I mentioned. If they're available a little earlier, I don't think he knows for sure what he's going to do either. I think these GMs like Dave Gettleman, they have all these different scenarios, seeing how the draft board plays out. And they might not know for sure until the team before them is done going. I mean, as we like to talk about Bill Belichick a lot on this show. When Bill Belichick, before he coached the New England Patriots, when he coached the Cleveland Browns for 5 years, they were all set at pick number 11 to take Kyle Brady, another Brady, a great tight end from Penn State. All set. They had the uniform made up. It said Brady on it. The Jets went one pick before them. No one thought the Jets were interested in a tight end. No one. And the Jets ambushed New England. They took Kyle Brady. And reports are the Patriot office was completely disgusted by missing out on it. They never saw it coming. So what the Giants are going to do, it's intriguing, Mac, at number 11. They have so many options. I'm looking back on the draft, Mac. It's some players who are projected to go between 25 and 30, who I think are really good players who could really help the Giants a lot. And I'm thinking, it might not be so bad if the Giants traded down and they could get an additional pick. Let's say the Jets called the Giants up. They wanted their number 11 pick, and they said, we'll give you our 2 picks, number 23 late in the first round and number 34 early in the second round. If I'm the Giants, do I do it? Or do I go for the 1 star? Or do I go for the 2 really solid players I can get later? What do you do, Mac?
Oh, I definitely, Jack, as you said, it depends on who's available at 11th spot. I mean, yeah, we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes as they're calling each other. But if one of those big offensive linemen are there, I stay there and pick him up. If Waddle or Devin Smith is there, I pick them up. If none of them are there, then, Parsons may be a option 2 at linebacker. But if those guys aren't there, I might trade down, and if I can get a couple extra picks in the first round and second round, I might do it too.
Yeah, Mac, you made a really good point yesterday on the show with Lance Meadows. We might talk about it again tonight. Micah Parsons, linebacker, Penn State, arguably the best defensive player there. I mean, he would be a great pickup on the field for the Giants, but supposedly there are maturity issues reportedly, and I only say reportedly. He's an I type of guy. and an I type of guy doesn't work in football. I mean, we used to prima donna wide receivers or I guys, throw them the ball. That doesn't go over well, but especially on defense, those guys a lot of times don't work out. But Coach Spence, a linebacker coach of the Giants, we had on this show, he was a great guest. He was with Micah Parsons at Penn State. How valuable is that in the selection? If Micah Parsons has an awful reputation and your line coach says, I can control him, give me the opportunity, do you put that trust in the line coach? Because if it doesn't work out, you wasted a heck of a valuable pick.
Agreed, Jack.
What do you do, Mac? What do you do in that situation, Mac?
Hey, listen, if my coach tells me he worked with this guy, he knows this guy, and the problem is very fixable with structure, I pick him up in a second, Jack. I pick him up in a second. I'm going off my coach's word. So that would be me. If it's not a good pick and something that doesn't work out, of course, we'll have a talking about later with that. But I would definitely trust my coach in that spot. So if he does say that to me, I would definitely take him at my pick. So, that's going to be very interesting how that works out. So, Jack, let's get to the rest of the news. We got a little bit over 15 minutes. We should be able to get it in. And the NBA yesterday, Jack, the Magic beats Cleveland 109-104. The Wizards beat the Lakers 116-107. Miami beats the Spurs. Portland 130, the Grizzlies 109. Denver 114 over the New Orleans 112. I don't know what happened there. The Clippers lose to Phoenix 109-101. The Jazz completely destroy the Kings 154-105. In the locals, Jack, the Celtics win. They beat Charlotte. Brown with 38. Tatum has 35. The big thing that probably won't be noticed is the center, Tristan Thompson, pulling down 13 rebounds, Jack.
Well, 13 rebounds. I mean, that doesn't blow me away, Mac. I mean, 13 rebounds have been grabbed. You know who I really like and I rave about on this show? The guy the Nets traded in the James Harden deal, Jared Allen. He doesn't shoot that much, but every night he has one of the best. He has a high shooting percentage. I think he went something like 6 for 7 yesterday, or was it the day before? He grabs double-digit rebounds for the Cavaliers. He's really such a nice piece. New Orleans losing to Denver. Jokic blocks Zion Williamson's shot at the end of the game. And Stan Van Gundy was kind of complaining, the Pelican coach, that Williamson doesn't get the calls because he doesn't flop. He's so powerful going to the basket. And Stan Van Gundy says, I'd never tell one of my guys to flop, meaning he hopes they flop like they were fouled. And you wonder how many times referees are fooled by guys putting on an act. It kind of reminds me, to just go back to boxing as an example, what Evander Holyfield once said. He fought this other heavyweight named John Ruiz in 3 fights, and they were good fights, but Evander Holyfield was deducted a point for hitting John Ruiz low, because whenever he hit Ruiz low, Ruiz went down clutching his groin, and it had to be an act to a large extent, I believe at least. And Holyfield says, and when he hits me low, just because I don't go down, fall down on the canvas and clutch my groin, they do nothing about it. They don't count it. But because he, puts on a big act, they count it. So it kind of makes you wonder. The NBA does have a flopping rule where guys aren't supposed to deceive the officials, but they kind of still do it anyway. And it's and sometimes you can't believe when a lesser player makes a great play on a star player. That's not the case, with Zion Williamson, the last play I'm talking about. But I remember once with Michael Jordan, they're playing the Atlanta Hawks, and I forgot who the guy was. It was a no-name on the Hawks. Late in the game, Jordan puts a move on him, and he drives to the basket, and the ball is stolen. And the referee blows a whistle. And the replay shows the defender had all ball, and Jordan nods his head to the referee like saying, good call, calling the foul. And, there was no foul.
And also, Jack, the 76ers annihilate Atlanta 127-83. Believe it or not, the highest scorer on the 76ers was Seth Curry with only 20. But the whole bench played meaningful minutes, and everyone scored a total of 80 points from the bench, Jack.
Well, I'm more thinking of, with the Sixers are coasting to the playoffs, it seems. I'm more intrigued by the Celtics. Are the Celtics, by some chance, going to be last year's version of the Miami Heat, who went to the finals, who surprised us? Because the Heat were in the same position. They were one of the favorites to come out of the East. And, you see Tatum and Brown, very big games yesterday, 35, 38 points. And then you add in Kemba Walker. You kind of wonder, might they be the surprise team? If there's one surprise team out of the East, who's it going to be? You can't label the Nets and the Sixers as surprise teams. I don't think you can label the Milwaukee Bucks, a surprise team because they're always up there with a good record. So who might the surprises be? Could it be the Atlanta Hawks? Could it be the New York Knicks? Could it be the Miami Heat again? Or could it be the Boston Celtics? And if you take those few teams and you're just thinking playoffs, the Celtics with their big three, Tatum, Brown, and Walker, they might be the team most likely to shock us during the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a good point, Jack, because they do have three good players there. Speaking of the Knicks win 113-94 over. I think it was over Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. Randall with 34 points, 7 rebounds. Barrett kicks in 22, and the rookie Emmanuel quickly has 13 points off the bench. Jack, another great game from Randall.
Yeah, right. I'm, just on Quickly. I'm not overly impressed with Quickly. He started the year as reportedly a point guard. That wasn't a position for him. He's erratic. He's a rookie with some ability. No, I'm not giving up on Quickly. I'm not giving up on Obi Toppin. Let's see how they develop and so on. Because R.J. Barrett, look at the strides he took between his first and second year. And I'll be honest about it, Mac. If I could have gotten Bradley Beal, if I were the Knicks GM early in the year, and I had to put together a package of players that could entice the Wizards to trade Beal to the Knicks, I would have at that time included, R.J. Barrett in that deal. And now I wouldn't do it. Yeah. I guess I wouldn't have been the right GM for, the Knicks, because Barrett, he plays all the time. He's not spectacular, but he's very solid, very good player. He's improving. He's improving all the time. You don't have to necessarily be a star in this league. You just have to be if you're very good night in and night out. I mean, that's what teams are looking for, and that's how championship teams are built. So with him and Randall, there's a nice nucleus. But obviously, in the off season, you're going to want to add some pieces, there. But Tom Thibodeau, he's done a remarkable job this year with the Knicks.
Yeah, they don't quit, Jack. I mean, they have great first quarters, and they have normally great fourth quarters. They come out hard and they finish hard, and that has a lot to do with coaching. So Major League Baseball, Jack, and I'm just going to go over the locals real quick. The Red Sox beat the Mets again. Christian Vasquez goes 1 for 3, driving in the only run. The pitcher, Nick Peretti, gives up 1 hit for his time in, I think it was 5 innings. DeGrom goes 6 and gives up 1 earned run with 9 strikeouts. The Mets bats have just gone silent, Jack.
Has any pitcher had less hitting support than Jacob DeGrom? My whole life, I've never seen a pitcher have less hitting support, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Gives up 1 run in 6 innings and gets the loss. And listen, The Met bats have to wake up. You know, we're hard on the Yankees. We're hard on the Yankees. But what are the Yankees, like a game behind the Mets or so, if it were the standings? I mean, the Yankees got off to such a bad start. And the Mets, even though the Mets were playing so-so, they were given a pass. But listen, Noah Syndergaard should come back later. But, you know, that'll help the Mets. But pitching hasn't been the big problem for the Mets this year, okay? It hasn't even been there. You know, the bullpen hasn't, the starting pitching hasn't been the big problem. The bullpen hasn't been the big problem. They just haven't hit. But, you know, you figure guys like Jeff McNeil, he's got to start hitting. Francisco Lindor has to start hitting. And you wonder Lindor, his personality, he's a happy-go-lucky guy. Everyone around him at Cleveland said that's his genuine personality. He's a very happy player, but he's never fought in a place like New York, never played in this type of market. And now with the boos that are starting, okay, at Citi Field with the limited fan base, is Lindor going to take that to heart? Because if he starts taking it to heart and it starts affecting him, there's going to be a major problem because Lindor's scheduled to be here for the next 11 years. So this is something that better work out.
Well, two things there, Jack. I mean, the Mets had the highest batting average of any team last year in all MLB. I mean, they could hit the ball. They couldn't drive in runs for some reason, but their average was the best in the league. They have players with a lot of pop in their bat that can drive in, they can hit home runs. Maybe not with people on base, but they can hit home runs. And as you said, it was the bullpen the last couple of years that has let them down at the end of the year before and last year. And it just seems to me that I know it takes a while normally it takes a while for the pitchers to get up to speed, and the bats are normally there in the beginning. It seems opposite this year, Jack. I mean, when I played ball, you had to warm up your arm. It took you a few games to get on top of it. But normally with spring training, with all the hitting you're doing off season and the spring training, you're ready to hit the ball right away. The pitchers working on their stuff. I know that maybe it's different now that they pitch year round, but it used to be the pitchers it took them a couple games to get where they should be. The batters used to be warm. This year, especially with the Mets, I mean, I'm a little shocked that the Mets aren't scoring runs. I really am. I'm a little shocked that the Red Sox are pitching so well too, Jack.
You know, sometimes, Mac, you got to leave players alone. Even if they have a bad season, if you have faith in them, they're going to bounce back. There are risks involved. Look at, we talked about a lot. We've talked about Gary Sanchez a lot with the Yankees. Wilson Ramos, who was signed as a free agent for the Mets, didn't have a good year last year. He's off to the Tigers. Last I heard, he's having a real good year for the Detroit Tigers, meaning he could have had that year for the Mets. So sometimes you just want to leave a player alone and let him play, and he'll snap out of it, and he'll be the type of player you think he will. But it's all a question like of patience with these guys. You feel the pressure every day, and it wears on you if you're the manager, you're the GM. You feel it from the owner. Like, when is this player really going to get it going? Yeah. And sometimes, you just got to really, ride it out. I mean, you look at the Mets lineup, they're going to hit. They have to hit. The lineup is constructed to hit. I had some questions about them defensively, at certain positions to make up, but they're going to hit. But it's just a question of patience, that's all it is. There are going to be some bad games, even with the Yankees. Matt, you lost some patience with the Yankees. Yeah. Giancarlo Stanton, you lost patience with him, but the big guy is coming around. Yeah, he's coming around.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just got to, it's like the stock market. You just got to, ride it out. Sometimes you take your beating, you ride it out. But you have to have faith. The track record proof that the player is going to be the type of player that you think he is.
And as you bring up the Yankees, Gio Urshela goes 2 for 4, drives in 3 as the Yankees win 7-0. Herman goes 7, getting the win. Herman, I think, is a wild card this year, Jack. We don't know about Severino because he's been hurt. We don't know how he's going to pitch. But you got Cole, and you need a number 2 for right now anyway. Can Herman do that? I don't know. I know he's had success in the past, had a little luggage coming in this year because of what happened off field. Some people didn't want him on the Yankees. But I think he's the wild card this year, and whether the Yankees make a legitimate run at the World Series or not, Jack.
Yeah, well, no, absolutely, I agree. Listen, the last couple of games when Corey Kluber and Domingo Germán have pitched really solid games for the Yankees, those are badly needed because people were questioning them whether they should be part of the Yankee staff, that the Yankee staff is a mess. So they stabilized things with the good games. You know, sometimes it's just one little thing. It could even be that way with a hitter. Clint Frazier hits a homer yesterday, a meaningless homer to most. The Yankees were up 6-0. He hits a homer late in the game, makes it 7-0. Meaningless as far as the outcome of the game goes. But Clint Frazier was going so poorly with the bat, that homer kind of quiets people down temporarily. It's very important to stem the negativity. And he did it for the moment, hitting, that homer. So sometimes, you need that performance, especially as a pitcher. And what Germán did yesterday reminds us of the potential the Yankees think he has. What Kluber did before that reminds us of why the Yankees signed him for 1 year, $11 million a year. Now, what these guys are capable of doing, and then you wait, and then the reinforcements are coming back, like Severino, and then you figure, okay, we'll be okay. That American League East is up for grabs. The Red Sox, you've been a believer, Mac. They've been playing well. They haven't proven me wrong yet. I'm still not a believer. But, the longer they hang in there, that's going to say a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like I said before, Jack, I don't think they're winning the division, but I think they're going to get even better before the year's out. They got a hell of a manager, and he knows baseball. There's no doubt about it. So, Jack, we're coming near the end of the show today, folks, but we'll be back on tonight, Northeast Streaming Sports, NFL Draft Special. We're going to have a lot of guests. Will be live from Cleveland with the Philly sports guy, Jamie Pags. Got ex-Super Bowl champions. Well, not ex. He is a Super Bowl champion. Jim Jeffcoat coming from the Dallas Cowboys. We got former wide receiver Byron Williams from the Giants, the Eagles, the Colts. Played WFL, CFL, knows his sports. He'll be on during the Giants draft. We got some journalists. Joe Santo, who's going to be coming on from the Philly Voice. We've got a journalist also coming on that Keith set us up with. I don't have his name in front of me, but it's Kingman, who covered the Patriots and the Buffalo Bills for a long time. So we're going to have journalists, we're going to have ex-players, we're going to have show hosts, everything you could want, and we'll be live from the draft. Anything you could want in a draft show, and we'll have a lot of things about the draft, folks. It's going to be detailed, it's going to be fun, and we want your opinions. We want your questions and comments as you share the draft night with us. The Mac and Jack show will be back on tomorrow morning, too. We'll get up early for you for our Friday show where we normally have Byron Williams and Keith on. We'll see how they feel after that all night there. But we'll be here, folks. I promise you that. Have a great day. We'll see you tonight over at Northeast Streaming Sports, either on the Facebook channel, YouTube, and right here at Max Sports. So join us tonight. Have a great day and get ready for a great draft. Have a good one.
See you tonight.
Yes, sir.